Washing Rakakwadash, water, Yahweh, water, Yahweh, washing Yahweh, Kolo Yahweh, washing Yahweh, Barakatah Yahweh, for your mercy as I cry. Kolo Yahweh, Bashim Yahweh Shai. Shalaki Yahweh, for your mercy by and by. Kolo Yahweh, Bashim Yahweh Shai. Kolo Yahweh, Bashim Yahweh Shai. Water, Yahweh, for your mercy all the time. Baba Kasha, Yahweh, for reply all the time. Kolo, Yahweh, Bashir, Yahweh Shai. Shalom, shalom. It's your brother Obadiah Yahweh Kanan. Yeah. Coming to you again with another live stream. Man, the Most High has been laying it on us. He's been laying it on us. He's been laying it on us to get out and get what we got to get going. I want to say shalom and salutations to all the hopeful elect. We all praise, worship, and praise that we are even included as the hopeful elect through Yahweh Hashem Shai. I want to say salutations to the scattered speckled bird that may not look like the Israelites, but may look like the heathen, but are not the heathen, as my brother Malcolm always says. And I want to say shalom to you as well, and the Aqua and the Akim that are out there doing the work day in and day out, bringing it in and bringing it out. And obviously, we got to get our most honorable and respectful admiration and acknowledgement to the elders and the apostles who've been bringing this out for decades in and decades out. They're bringing out the accuracy. You cannot deny it. It's absolutely beyond what it should be. But you know what? That's the way it's supposed to be. The Most High is blowing everybody's mind and getting ready to blow it up even more. You know, I want to start off with a scripture because that's what we do, and that's just the way we need to go. I want to start off with Ezekiel chapter 3:17, and most of us know what that means and what it's about, and this is what we're scheduled to do at this particular time, and we have to get it out in the way that we do. And we just pray and worship and praise. We praise, worship, and pray that Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shai is with us on this whole process as the prophetic timeline is moved forward and as it's going. In the scripture is Ezekiel 3:17, and it reads, "Son of man, I have made thee a watchman unto the house of Israel. Therefore hear the word of my mouth and give them warning from me. When I say unto the wicked, thou shalt surely die, and thou givest him not warning, nor speaketh to warn the wicked from his wicked way, to save his life, the same wicked man shall die in his iniquity, but his blood will I require at thine hand." And see, we doing this work, we believe through the Spirit and through the way that Yahweh Hashem Yahweh operates, that we've been predestined to do this. This is not something that we just woke up one day or just something came upon you in terms of something carnal and said, okay, you need to go and do this. No, this is something that burns a fire in your spirit. That's why the scriptures always talk about his ministers of our flame of fire. We operate at different levels in the body of Hamashiach. This is what we do. You know, the hand don't do what the eye do. The eye doesn't do what the feet do. The feet don't do what the leg do, or what the arm do. I mean, it's just, you know, we all have our part that we have to do, and you want to operate at peak, as best as peak efficiency as you can, with whatever body of Hamashiach you occupy and that you are predestined to operate within, spiritually speaking, of course. So that's extremely important in reference to where we are at this. Now, the reason why I wanted to start off with Ezekiel chapter 3 is because those of the brethren that have been predestined to do this work are the watchmen, and not only are they watchmen, but they are also basically by proxy they're shepherds also. And if you are a shepherd, you're going to tend to what a shepherd does in terms of the sheep. All right, and this message is going to resonate in reference to that particular area of concern, because right now the elect were, I would just say, the elect are the rams of the sheep. Okay, because you have, and we're going to go to address this the actual scriptures in reference to when we go to John chapter 21, when Peter is spoken to by Yahushua, and he asked him three separate times to feed his lambs if you love him, feed his sheep if you love him, feed his sheep again. So you got lambs, and the lambs are baby sheep. They're babies, okay, but still helpless, not able to do what they need to do to know. They got to depend on the sheep and obviously the shepherd. And then you have the sheep, which also could be considered Akim and Akwaf, and also those that are not awake completely yet, but soon to come into the truth if they are predestined to do that. And then you got the sheep again on the latter end of that statement that Yahushua is saying, which I understand that to possibly be rams, because a ram is a sheep also, okay, with big old horns and strong, but it is still a sheep. And even though it has the power to butt you and knock you clear into it's still a sheep, right? And so I construe those as possibly being, and if I'm wrong, of course, Shalaki, that they are more like the elect, a level of the elect, because they're like the rams. The rams, the sheep could be a ewe, which is a female sheep, or just a sheep in general, because you have male sheep that are not used, but you know what I'm saying. And then you have your lambs. So in lieu of that, the title of this lesson is the emaciation of the nation of Israelites. The emaciation of the nation of Israelites. Okay, and that's important to understand, because we need to know what is emaciated. What does emaciated mean? All right, to be emaciated, right? Emaciated. Right. Now, emaciated says here, abnormally thin or weak, specifically because of illness or lack of food. Let me repeat that, right? Emaciated or emaciation, right? Abnormally thin or weak, especially because of illness or a lack of food. Now, clearly we know that the brothers, the apostles, the brothers, and all of the like-minded men of the Lord who are out preaching, teaching, and doing the work, they are feeding the sheep. The portion in the process of the feeding of the sheep to allow them to not be emaciated, or the emaciation process, which is still occurring, is we have to get the warning out. Now, my Akim brethren are doing an excellent job of getting the warning out. No question, no holds bar. The word and the method and the message and the MO and the method of operation, the MO that the Most High Yahweh Shem Shai has brought forward in terms of the brothers getting this word out. And these are remarkable brothers. If you just knew the walk of life that they were brought out of and brought into in terms of doing this work, you have to know that this is an absolute miracle of all miracles at this particular period of time, this eonic period of time, because all of us from whence we came out of, you would never in your wildest dreams believe that these particular men would be so blessed and so ordained and so sanctioned to do this particular work if you looked at the past. But see, that's what you can't look at. You got to look at the reconciliation process and the conversion process that is always still in the creative portion and process of what's happening. Because our Father Yahweh Bashim El Shai, Yahweh he's always creating. His entire essence of who he is completely continuing the process of the creation that is continuously growing and moving forward, probably vastly beyond what we can imagine in terms of what's out there as far as what he's created in galaxies and planets, everything else that's out there. It's just beyond what we can imagine. I just did a lesson, the mystery of what's not known in terms of Yahweh from Isaiah 55:8, right? So it's very important to understand that the manifold mysteries of Yahweh Bashim Yahushai are beyond the scope of what our metabolism has been blessed and granted to understand. Even though through the Ruach HaKodesh, which they call the Holy Spirit, we will be told all things, and that's a time frame that's attached to that process. So, but what I want to make sure I focus on and let you know is, like I said, being Shalaki, the emaciation of the nation of Israel, to be emaciated abnormally thin or weak, especially because of illness or a lack of food, is just a lot of where we are right now in terms of the stage of things. Emaciated, if you're emaciated, all right, and you need food, you're anorexic and you won't take the food that the apostles, the brothers, and the men of the Lord are giving you, it's not because the food is not palatable. It may be to an extent whereas you don't want to hear it, so you run from it or you scoff or you bug out against it, but it's still good food. And the food is the part of the food of the warning has to come out. It's going to be hard at times for all of us to accept it, but we can't avoid it. We cannot get around it. In other words, no matter how you don't want to hear it and you just try to cover your ears and say, I don't want to hear it, I don't want to hear it, it doesn't matter. We cannot stop the process. It's going to continue. You can't avoid it. You have to go through it. You can't escape it. So because that is the nature of the situation, we are going to feed you. Now, we're not going to force feed you. Most High doesn't want us to force feed, and we can't force feed anyone. If you don't understand or you can't get this, whether you understand the warning or not, that's coming out from the brothers and myself and all those that have love for our neighbor, which is Israelites who we care about. If you can't stand to hear the word, if you can't do that, that's because you probably have a very serious level of spiritual blockage on you. And if you are to wake up before the missiles hit or after, it's not our call. We just have to give the message. And the brothers are doing that. They're giving you the unfiltered, unadulterated word of Yahweh Hashem Yahushai in the best possible way they can give it to you. And we need to clearly understand that there's going to come a time as the famine rolls down on everything else that the Most High is diminishing and that he's bringing down further and further. It's going to come down to the point of the word as well. Okay, that's going to be emaciated as well. Okay, you're going to have an emaciation of that word as also. Okay, it's going to be at a point where it's going to be thin. It's not going to be abundantly there. It's going to be weak, especially that will cause you to become ill. Because when you hear that the word's no longer available and then the warnings are no longer going out, then action's going to start happening that is going to really cause you to starve in many different ways, and that's going to be very, very, very harmful and hurtful to see the elect of the nation witness this process happening to the people who we believe should be able to wake up. But as we know, the Most High is not trying to wake everybody up. Everybody's not going to be waking up. There's 2/3 that cannot. They're predestined to not wake up. So the emaciation of the nation of Israelites, uh, where this message is going is real simple. Let's look at the role of a shepherd, a sheep herder. Okay, because a shepherd is a sheep herder, because he has to herd the sheep in the direction that is safe for them. Okay, I want to make sure you hear this and you pay close attention to this, because this is important in reference to what we should be also looking to acquire as directives when the SHTF happens, when the so-called what hits the fan and the bottom drops out. We want to have complete and clear directives on how you're supposed to move. And the Most High always provides you that. If he tells you that he's going to do something, and he tells you how he's going to do it, and he gives you the season, I keep telling you this, and he also tells you how you can go through it, how you can get through it. So in lieu of that being the case, that is a way a sheep. Let's break it down in that capacity. Okay, you got sheep, all right, and then we're gonna hit precepts about sheep, that where if you have 100 and one goes astray, the shepherd gonna go find it and he gonna bring it back. And that's if that's an elect. He's not just chasing down 2/3. He's talking about elect, right? Now, if you have a lot of sheep and you have to take care of them, you have to feed them. And not only do you have to feed these sheep, but you have to make sure that their environment is relatively safe from wolves and from various other predators of prey that will prey upon sheep who don't have any method of defense. A sheep is not born with anything that could help defend itself. As a lamb, what's it going to do? It don't have fangs, don't have sharp claws, doesn't have doesn't have the ability to run extremely fast. None of that is equipped when it comes to lambs and sheep. They are clearly vulnerable to just about almost everything that has some form of predatory protection or device that's built in by Yahweh Shem Yahushai in the entire world system, as far as what the Most High created. Sheep and lamb, they can't protect anything. The best we get to is a ram who has some very strong horns that could hit you and possibly hurt you or kill you or whatever. But again, we also saw that a ram was stuck in a thicket, in terms of when Abraham had not gone to the point of sacrificing his son, and the Most High provided a ram at the time in order for that process. But yet and still, if the horns get stuck in something, then needless to say, the ram is vulnerable at that point in time too. So there you go. But let me not digress. What I'm saying to you is the shepherd is responsible for a multitude of processes that deal with how the sheep have to be tended to. Now, the sheep of the elect is where we are focusing what we're supposed to be doing, because those are the ones that the Most High said through the remnant that have to wake up. Judah, tribe of Judah first, of course, and then all the rest of the nations will follow. But there's a lot. We don't know the amount of how many have to wake up and at what particular stage and level they will. But what we do understand is that there are shepherds, and the shepherds are responsible for this. Now, the Most High controls all forms of the shepherds. He controls all forms of everything. You have shepherds who are bringing leadership and herding and managing and feeding the sheep in a righteous way. And then you have those that are not feeding in a righteous way, and the Most High controls both sides of them. And it's clearly easy to see who they are. The shepherds that are hirelings, you can see who they are and how they operate. The shepherds who are righteous, you can see who they are and how they operate in as well. But at the same time, there's an emaciation process going on where there's certain portions of the food that's being fed is getting to them, and it's in an abundant amount. What's an abundant amount of food that the shepherds are feeding the sheep right now? They're feeding the sheep the warnings. The sheep are getting an abundant amount of warnings in terms of what it is that's upon them based on their relationship and their responsibility to what they've been given from their heritage that they neglected to follow. Uh, what am I saying? I'm saying very simple. The laws, statutes, commandments, and all of the judgments and ordinances were only given to Israel. They were given to the Israelites. They weren't given to any other nations. They're not for any other nations. Even Psalms chapter 147:19 tells you that I giveth my word to Jacob, my laws and statutes to Israel. I have not dealt so with any other nation. So the most roughly paraphrased, but I'm telling you, no one else is supposed to have their hands on this truth and on this script, on these books, on this word, on this truth. No one else, and no other nation is supposed to have it. Are they involved in the process? Yeah, they are going to be put in the movie in terms of the stage of what performance they have to adhere to based on their activity, their particular servitude in the process. But they are not afforded all of the attributes of the responsibility of what we are to do with the law, statutes, and commandments that the Most High gave us, which is the food that we are to eat. This is the sheep's food and the sheep's diet. They're supposed to be adhering to and following and absorbing and eating when they get to the level of being able to consume the law, statutes, and commandments. Naturally, there's a milk stage, of course, prior to that. But what I'm saying to you is the sheep are supposed to eat this food, and we are giving them this portion of the food. Now, the abundance of the food in this time frame right now that we're operating in, and as I used this analogy before when I was talking to Israelite friends of mine, I told them, I said, we have this so-called, I guess you've seen a bell curve before. You've seen a bell curve. And when you see this like a bell curve, if anyone studies statistics or anything that deals with how markets and how various different aspects of business grow to a pinnacle point, and they get at the highest point, and then they go from one side of the bell curve down to the opposite side as far as going up, being mid-range, getting to the high point of it, coming down on the other side of it as the decline happens after the process has been completed. So let me not go too far to digress there, but I want to stop and tell you a little bit of something about this band. We have a band, an absolute time band that the Most High has set that's attached to prophecy. He has a time band that's attached to prophecy. And on that time band, much like a bell curve, where are we on the time band? Now, of course, we can talk about, what seal we're in, what vial has been laid out open in Revelation. If we go to there, we can go to that method if you can understand the chronological order of that capacity. But let me talk to you from this perspective, which is very much in line with this. We're on this curve, and we're on this bell or band curve style situation where are we? We're at the halfway point of the band of time in prophetic process that's happening. We're not higher up on the hump yet, but we're getting there, but we're not up. When we get to the pinnacle of that hump, that's when the entire bottom's going to drop out. You're going to see absolutely everything that's going on come to fruition as far as the MOTB and every other aspect that we've been prophesying about, and that the elders and possibly prophesizing for decades about, and then before them, as well as from the beginning, when Yahushua fulfilled everything that he had to, that was written about him. So the thing is, we're at that point of the curve, right there on that bell curve or that band. We're at that point before we get ready to start racing higher to the hump of that bell curve. Now, understanding that, there's a lot of things that already are showing you that that's where we are in comparison to the next phase of things to come. So what food are you going to be eating at this particular point in time right here? Right now, you're getting a high nutrition, nourishment amount of warning, judgment, and edification and exhortation in terms of the things that are showing the signs of the days of Noah, when the wicked, and we're going to name first the house of Israel, because judgment starts in the house of Israel first. The wicked is so wicked and turning up so bad that now you can hardly tell the difference between Jake's and Esau in terms of the wickedness. They're running neck and neck, if not side by side, and sometimes seems like Jake surpasses Esau in the wickedness that he's doing currently. Now, we know Esau, of course, is the all-time pro in wickedness from the foundation of the world that he is. based on what Job chapter 9:24 says. The earth is given into the hand of the wicked. Now, knowing that that's the case, it shows you who's running the show right now, that the Most High allows to be the case. Of course, the Most High runs everything, controls everything, but the puppetized process of Esau Edom is showing you that this is the case, right? All right, not digressing. All right, so the warnings, the food warnings of judgment and of what is what is upon us now, what is coming fast, and how it's being applied is clear. That's a very bitter pill to swallow once you see the reality of the situation. This is bitter food, it's and just because you ignore it as whoever you are, supposedly in this truth or not in the truth, doesn't make it stop, and it doesn't make it go away. So the truth has to be expounded upon in terms of the food that you're being fed of what the Most High placed on his judgments that are coming down in the form of his chastising, his punishments, and whatever else you want to contribute to being your reward. If listening to a TikTok message was kind of funny, this chick did. She said, "Your work, as you work, okay, you're gonna get paid. So if your work is wicked, you're gonna get paid for your wickedness. If your work is righteousness, you're gonna get paid for your righteousness, but you're gonna get paid. May not be when you think you're gonna get paid, but you're gonna get paid." So the bottom line is, you're eating that food of that particular formation of what time band we're in prophecy at this point of that pinnacle period. Now, as it grows forward, there's going to be a lot of things that are going to start happening. Okay, for instance, we recently have gotten information on the time band of prophecy that's being expanded upon, that now they're going to institute the process of eliminating FRNs. And if you don't know what FRNs are, on their Federal Reserve notes, so they're eventually taking everything to a CBDC type thing, a central bank digital currency situation, into a currency situation in general, which in turn means that no longer there will be any type of liberty in reference to how you handle your economic footprint. Okay, so understand that. No more liberty, Jakes. No more liberty, certain Edomites. No more liberty. Okay. So you think that you're complying by walking around with the mask on and stuff, and looking like you just got out of some operations or some sub-zero activity, and you think that if you just comply with all of the reams and the realms and the aspects that they tell you to in terms of wearing this, wearing that, going to get the stab and jab and jumping up and down and flipping through hoops of fire, whatever you're doing, as being wicked Jakes, you think you're going to get some comfortability in terms of your liberty being available and being extended. Sorry, no. Let me say it again. Not sorry, no, you're not. All of what you did to think you complied with the lie, you're not going to have extended liberty, nor did you ever have any liberty from the beginning. It was all an illusion, and now you get to see that. So this is the situation. We're telling you, this is the food, this is what you eat, and if it's bitter to your belly, then you're going to have to take it. Now, saying all that, this is what we are emphasizing right now, because it is front foremost in your world, in your lifestyle. This is what you're dealing with. And because Esau Edom's deceptive power, which is one of his bigger powers, is deception, it's going to continue to do this all the way up to the point where you just might end up in a facility that you used to go shopping in to hold on to you until you distribute it to another facility where those activities there will be the detriment of your lifestyle and anything about you. Okay, so case in point, this is where it could be driven to. So then what you're saying to us in terms of not asking, but we're trying to tell you is there a way out? Well, the only way out is Yahweh Hashem Yahushai. And you have to believe that he is. That's scriptural. If you do not believe that he is, then clearly you will not make it. Not this go round. It's not going to happen. But again, it's still our responsibility to tell you what's going and what's happening, and then we're supposed to give you information in order to afford you an opportunity to be able to go through things. All right. Now, again, if you are a shepherd and you're designated to do that, if you're a watchman, your title also is a shepherd, okay, to a degree, because you're sounding the alarm, but who you're sounding the alarm to? Those that need to hear it, okay, those that need to adhere to it. So when you're sounding the alarm, you're trying to tell the sheep what's to come, and you're supposed to also be telling them how to operate when this process happens. Yahweh Shem Yahushai has given us the understanding and the ability to do this. We're supposed to tell them the directives. When everything drops out and the bottom drops out, I said it again, and I'll say it, and I'm going to keep saying it until the Most High makes me stop saying it, which I don't think he will until he finishes what he's doing. What is the directive? What are the directives to what you are supposed to do when the shit hits the fan and everything drops out and everything goes dark and you have no communication with anyone, and you are where you are and you are who you are, whether you are in the truth or whether you are trying to be in the truth or whether you are completely lost? He's going to drop it on the whole world, everywhere. It will eventually happen. Just as sure as we've been telling you about the MOTB, which is now in your face. So it's going to drop. Now, how soon? We can't tell you that. We just tell you the signs of what we see now. Now you see already you got Sleepy Creepy Joe and went on ahead and signed something that says digital currency is going to be the play and the way. And you're going to have that format to operate in this system. And so the bottom line is real simple. All right. If you're going to operate in this system, they're gonna put you in a position where you're almost forced to comply. They're gonna make it seem convenient, but you're going to have to comply. All right. Now, when you do get to the point where you have to comply, you're going to have to make a decision at that time what you will accept or what you won't accept. You're going to have to make that decision. So, all right. So what does that mean? That means that now your emaciation process is going to enhance. What does that mean? You're going to be emaciated. That means that you're either going to be thin and weak, and especially because of illness, because you're going to take this bad and it's going to make you sick. And it's going to be a lack of food because you now do not understand and you're not being directed. And if you're not being directed to go in the right direction, you're going to have a problem. Okay, so there you go. So now here we are. We got what I said is we have watchmen who are going to be shepherds, who are going to be herdsmen. They're going to move sheep. In other words, you're going to move them with the meat of the word, with the fortified knowledge of the word, which is that meat. And that meat's going to offer a directive to tell you what you need to do when the SHTF comes down completely and the bottom drops out. So at some point, Yahweh Shem Yahushai is going to make these fishermen show hunter capacities, and the hunting process will be a herding and hunting process, because you have to be shown what to do because you don't know what to do. If you knew what to do, then we wouldn't be out here doing this and telling you this. So clearly you're not in the knowledge of knowing what directives to move on and how to move. And that's why we're showing you and talking to you about this. And this is going to be very important, because now that's the stage of where we are. You're going to need to know what to do when you have no other resource to depend on. When you can't reach your brethren, when you can't reach your leaders, when you can't reach your certain family members that you depend on, or as wacky tackies go after their pastors and everything else, just like the mini lockdown that the Most High did on the stabbing jab, when the juice was poured down, was provided in reference to the demic. The churches and everything that they were going to got shut down, and they were home ridden and flabbergasted over not knowing what to do and where to go. And that was the nature of the situation. But now we're going to have something that's 100,000 times more severe because it's going to be worldwide. It's not just going to be within this country. And when that process happens, everything's going to go dark, and the only light you're going to have is when the Most High brings the sun up the next day, and then of course you have light. But then what happened the night before is going to always be something that's going to terrify you, and that's just the way the nature of the situation is going to be. So again, the emaciation of the nation of the Israelites is going to become a very major factor that's right in front of our face. And I've been getting unction from the Royal Caucasish that when this December 13 situation comes around, the famine for the word may become extremely antagonized. Let me say that. I'll use that word. And when I say antagonized, I mean already the Akim, when they're out, they get antagonized by bug outs and demons all the time. But when they start operating on the antagonization from a technological perspective in terms of creating much more complications in terms of doing these kinds of lessons and getting things out to the sheep in terms of feeding them, it's going to become quite trying. Let me give you an example of what could happen. I don't know that this is the case. I'm not saying that it's there already. It could be. But I'm saying, let me give you an example. Let me give you an analogy, so to speak, okay? In other words, what could possibly happen? If they decide with the platform that we do our lessons on, which of course is YouTube and various other types of social media platforms, they could decide to price you out of the ability to do this. And in pricing you out, I mean, even if you may have the money process, if it's taken to the digital format where you have to take the MOTB, now you're making a choice because you won't be able to do what you think in terms of getting a lesson or a message out. Case in point, let's just say they tell me on my channel, all right, you want to do lessons over there? I tell you what we're going to do. For every lesson you want to put up, whether it be a live stream or a recording, we're going to charge you XYZ amount of dollars in order to do it. In order to operate. Now, so if they say, if they throw a number out there, I'm just throwing a number. I don't know if this is going to be the cost, but I'm saying, let's say they say $100 a lesson. Every time I want to put a lesson out, I got to come up with $100 that I have to send through them in some kind of online payment or some kind of credit card with a chip on it, and then send the number through and pay every time I want to put a lesson out. Now you think about that. Now you are you're being forced to almost be in a hireling type capacity because you have a lot of so-called men in the truth or Israelites in the truth that they monetize the Mashiach. Now everybody isn't doing it, but they monetize Yahweh Shem Yahushua in terms of they do their business like the money changers, but they're doing it in this modernistic capacity. They're selling items that don't have anything to do with the ministry in reference to going to a different level in terms of what's offered. I mean, if you're going to sell a garment, okay, just a garment, that's fine. I can understand that. But when you start selling other aspects and other things that do not specifically relate to the ministry and the work, trinkets, smell goods, masks, hats. I mean, you go into that's not it. And then if you have other things that you're doing, that you're associating with the ministry that's not part of it, making albums, doing rap songs, just stuff that does not match up with what we're supposed to be doing. That all is going to take some kind of monetary or economic platform to operate under. And if the social media powers that be, that of course controlled by Yahweh Shem Shai, decide that, okay, now in order for you to go on and present your information and your documentation and your documentaries and what have you, you're going to be charged for each one. And if one is of a long length, they may charge you more. That's one form of putting famine on the word. Because if they start charging you a couple $100 every time you need to do a lesson, unless Yahweh Shem Yahushua wants you to be able to afford to pay for that, And then you got to figure out the methodology upon you paying them for it. Because if you got to go and say, well, are you gonna go get the MOTB just to do that, or is it going to shut down? You see, this is the thing that we may have to deal with. They may say, okay, collectively, nobody's going to be on the street anymore. We know Yahweh Shem Yahushua will take care of us no matter what happens, but we know that by December 13th, and the 13th is quite a number in terms of biblical numerics. I don't need to go into that, but you can look it up. It's going to be problematic for a lot of different types of food that you will not be receiving anymore. And one thing about sheep, they can fend for themselves in terms of trying to get to food because they keep their head down while they're eating. That's a dangerous situation because you don't know what's coming upon you as a sheep when you got your head down and you trying to find something to eat that's going to help you stay alive and nourish you and help you grow. And so it's like cows and any other animals that forage in that way. You down there chewing and you churning up and you mulching this food, but you're not paying attention to what's coming upon you. And therefore, you could be in a world of trouble because you'll get blindsided, which seems to be the case. And unless you are herded or called or put in a safe position by Yahweh Shem Yahushua and his shepherds that are supposed to do it, you're going to be in big trouble. Okay, so this is just a couple of different things that could occur around that December 13th period in time that could happen. That's just one analogy, one idea that could occur. We don't know, and we can't say for sure, but you better be alert. You better be ready, because a lot of things are going to fall on that same time when they do when they eliminate Federal Reserve notes, and whether they relinquish them all or partiality. If they do parts and parcel of them, it's still going to have a triggered effect with other areas that are part of what your ministry will be and part of what you're supposed to do. So then once you go into what I said before, and the Most High gave me the coin phrase of tribulation isolation, once you get isolated from the things that you no longer will be able to provide, like these videos and like certain lessons and certain information and certain objects that you purchase for your praise, worship, and prayer to the Most High from this capacity in the spiritual realm as well as physical. You're going to have to make some wise decisions. Circumspect decisions are going to be very, very apparent at that time, and you're going to need them. What do I say? What does the Ruach HaKodesh through Yahweh Shem Yahushua tell me to say? And I've been saying it. The formula, the spiritual formula for the process of continuing to eat healthy. The spiritual formula for the process of continuing to eat the food that the Most High has to sustain you through the tribulation. The spiritual formula for the process to continue to sustain you through tribulation isolation is praise, worship, and prayer. Praise, worship, and prayer. Three distinctive physical attributes that have to be performed together to the righteous Father Yahweh Bashem Yahushai in his sacred name. That is what I've been given to say is one of the ways of going through the tribulation isolation process that we all are going to be subjected to. If you're in the flesh and you're still on this earthly plane, you're still on this planet, okay? And you have not been beamed up and got out of here on a chariot. If you're still in the flesh and you're alive and you're healthy and you're doing what you're doing, whether you're in the truth or not in the truth, I've said it before, you will experience the cup of wrath that is poured out. What level, I don't know. I can't tell you that. I do not have that information. I cannot judge that. I can't discern it past what is said in Scripture. Okay? But if you're here in the flesh and you're not in the spirit world, the cup of wrath is poured out on the whole world. So if you're here in some way, shape, or form, you're going to have to deal with something of it. Whether, like I said before, whether it's something that happens to someone close to you indirectly, or, whatever capacity it is, you're going to deal with it. And the only thing that I've been able to understand so far in terms of going to and through the scriptures and studying and digging and asking and praising and worshiping and praying, and is that what he said, is you better be praising and worshiping and praying to Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai in order to get through it. So if like I said, I'm gonna say it again, if anybody's got anything else that basically adds to that or makes that even bigger, badder, and stronger, then I want, please help me. Humbly ask, praise, worshiping, and praying Yahweh B'Shem Yahushua, please help me if there is more than what you're saying as far as praise, worship, and prayer together. Because that's what I'm getting. But I know this part is longer on the talk, and I'm going to go through the scriptures here. I haven't forgotten. But, again, I'm on a live stream, so if you're going to stay and listen, then you're going to stay and listen and get information. Because I'm telling you, when this stuff stops and there's no longer us giving this information, what are you going to do anyway? You're going to have a Bible and a candle? You might. You may not even get that. You may not have that. You may be subjected completely to your memorization of what you need to do to praise, worship, and pray to the Most High. You'll need to know what your praise, worship, and prayer of scriptures are in your mind, in your spirit, and you're going to have to give them up. Paul and Silas did it when they were in prison, in jail, in the dark. They had to praise, singing, praise, worship, and prayer, and then they were released. The Most High, he acts really fast, from what I can see, on praise, worship, and prayer. He acts on prayer. Of course he acts on worship. But when you do all three, man, it's just like, it's almost, it's very, very fast. I can't say instantaneous, but it's very, very fast, okay? Let's get into some precepts, because I've been filibustering enough in the truth. So let's get into some precepts, okay? All right, first place I want to go is, I'm going to go to Matthew. So go with me. Matthew chapter 10, verse 6. I want to go there and bring that out first. That's the first precept I got. Matthew 10, 6. But go ye rather to the lost sheep of the house of Israel. Okay, this is what Yahushua said. Okay, so I'll pop up the 5 and then I'll take it down from there. It says, these 12 Yahushua sent forth and commanded them, saying, go not into the way of the Gentiles and into the city of the Samaritans. Enter ye not. Now, we know from those of us who have been studied and trained in certain capacities to understand the various breakdowns that make sense. When he says, go not into the way of the Gentiles, he's saying, if you look at the deeper meaning and read between the lines, he's saying, don't look for the ethnic Gentiles that have never been given this truth and never been given the law, statutes, and commandments. Go to the ones that are ethnically Israelites, that are confused because they have been either taken into this environment forcefully, or they were born into this environment after their parents or their ancestors were taken into this environment, and they've adapted the way of the heathen. You can go to the book of Maccabees chapter 1 and read about this if you know about the Apocrypha, and if you studied in that capacity, and you can read there. I'm not going to crutch you. I'm not going to handicap you today and try to pop over to all the different scriptures in the Apocrypha and everything else. You need to do some damn studying. It's important that you get up off your duff and do something. All right, pull it up. Right now, you still have the unicorn of information, the internet of everything, and you can pull up a lot of this information relatively quickly. I'm not that way with you. I'm not going to coddle people. I ain't here to coddle you. All right. I will help the sheep. I will give you the information. I will herd you. I will direct you to the best that I can with Yahweh B'Shem Yahushua's help. But I'm not Shaki. I'm not going to coddle you. I will help. I will protect. I will do best I can, but I'm not coddling. Shaki. A little water. Okay, that. All right. And that's what Yahushua said, going down to 6, but go rather to the lost sheep of the house of Israel. So he's talking about the scattered Israelites. He's not talking about no universal believers or anything of that stuff. That's all out. That's all lies to keep bringing that up. You can't universalize the two covenants, because the two covenants weren't given universally. Okay, they were just given to the nation of Israel. So stop the nonsense. Okay, I don't waste any time with people like that, because it's just, to me, it's like worse than putting pearls to swine. Okay, I'm not even going to attempt to even think of doing that with you. If you want to bug out and try to battle or debate, no, you can't debate, or you can't debate Yahweh Hashem Yahushua. You can't do it. You can't do it, and you're not going to do it, and I'm not going to participate with you. Okay, let's go. 7. And as ye go, preach, saying, the kingdom of heaven is at hand. Heal the sick, cleanse the lepers, raise the dead, cast out devils. Freely ye have received, freely give. Provide neither gold nor silver nor brass in your purses, okay? Nor scrip for your journey, neither 2 coats, neither shoes, not yet staves, for the workman is worthy of his meat. And into whatever city or town ye shall enter, inquire who in it is worthy, and there abide till ye go thence. Okay? All right. So that's directives. You're getting a form of what to do when the SHTF hits the fan. And at this point, this is what the deal is. Yahushua is sending them into the SHTF, okay? And he's giving them the directives on what to do. How you're to move. How you are to move. See, as I said, Yahweh Bashim Yahushua always gives you answers on how to go through it. Now you know that, yeah, they were going in, when they go into the cities and these towns that are predominantly held and handled by heathens that are not in the truth and did not want to see the kingdom of heaven and the righteous people who the Most High chose to be above it, to be controlling it. So clearly, Yahushua is telling them what the directive is. Now he further on up in the scripture, in the chapter, he tells you that you're going to be dealing with consternation and people that's going to rise up against you. But you got to sift out the Israelites who are looking like Gentiles and the ones who, should be coming out, who should be called out. Okay, so that we can see is the case here with him saying what he's saying here, right? All right, so, and then he says here, and when ye come into an house, salute it, greet it, right? And if the house be worthy, let your peace come upon it. But if it be not worthy, let your peace return to you. So you can see you're getting directives on what you're supposed to be doing and how to move. I keep emphasizing this, and we got to be starting to say that part along with the judgment that's coming down. Because we know Jake's going to be wicked. And Jake's house is wicked at this point first, and that's what the Most High is looking at. So you got to operate who to salute, when to salute, how to salute, and then how to keep it moving if that's not the case. But you're getting directives on how to move, right? Okay. 14, and whosoever shall not receive you, nor hear your words, when ye depart out of that house or city, shake off the dust of your feet. Okay. Verily I say unto you, it shall be more tolerable for the land of Sodom and Gomorrah in the day of judgment than for that city. Okay. All right. Mark chapter 13, 9 through 13, and Luke chapter 21, 12 through 17 backs up what I just read for you and tell you what's going on. Behold, I send you forth as sheep in the midst of wolves. Be therefore wise as serpents and harmless as doves. But beware of men, for they will deliver you up to councils, and they will scourge you in their synagogues, and ye shall be brought before governors and kings, and for my sake, for a testimony against them and the Gentiles that this truth didn't go to, as well as some Jakes that want to join them. So you're going to have a testimony against them. And when you testify against them, as we do now, you're going to have to deal with whatever comes that the Most High allows at that point, right? But when they but how should I 19? But when they deliver you up, take no thought of how or what ye shall speak, for it shall be given you in the same hour what ye shall speak. For it is not ye that speak, but the Spirit of your Father which speaketh in you. That's what we're supposed to be doing. We gotta feed the sheep the directives from Yahweh Shem Shai and stop coming upon our own doctrines from our own organizations and filtering the information in that way to the sheep, because what we end up doing is we confuse the hell out of them, or the heaven out of them. All right, if you give the sheep all warning, 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 judgment, 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 and you always bring Esau at the pinnacle of what's happening, and you don't qualify and you don't disclaim the fact that he's puppetized and that the Most High is the one that is completely controlling him and having this done, then dumb sheep get fearful of what you're saying and they flee. Most times when people are afraid, they run, they leave. Just like it says, the wicked flee when no one pursueth. Well, why are they fleeing? Because one, they doing wicked stuff. Two, they're afraid and they don't understand. And if you say things to them that make them afraid in ignorance, they're not going to accept it. They're going to flee, and they're going to flee towards their destruction. Now, if the Most High has designated them to flee towards their destruction, then that's what happens to them, and you can't control it. But you have to learn to disclaim the fact that the Most High is in control of all of this. He's doing this, and no one else. He's using Esau, Edom, and he's puppetizing him to do this situation, as well as weak Jakes and all kinds of ninjas that just are wicked too and trying to be wicked. So you got to remember that part you have to adhere to. That's why it says, for it is not ye that speak, but the Spirit of your Father Yahweh which speaketh in you. And the brother shall deliver up the brother to death, and the father the child, and the children shall rise up against their parents and cause them to be put to death. Emaciation. This is an emaciation process, because why? As the description of emaciated says, this is an abnormal activity or weak, especially because of an illness. Demons, man, sickness on them, right? And a lack of the proper nutrient and the proper food, which is this word from Yahweh Shem Shai, that they can filter in and have directives on what they're supposed to be doing and how they're supposed to move. But clearly, you can see Yahweh Shai, and all this is red letter, so you can see this is him speaking here. All right, all right. So then it says, all right, brother will and brother shall deliver up the brother to death, and you see that a lot happening, even in the truth. Brothers who supposedly be in the truth, who got kicked out of organizations and camps, they want to deliver you up to Esau Edom. They go and join up with no precept, that damn devil Malone, and they go and they try to turncoat on you. They try to turn up and just say stuff to try to deliver you up to death, right? Because it says, and in Hebrews it talks about, and Yahushua came to deliver us from death, which is the devil. Okay, rough paraphrase. So you see what I'm saying. And brother to death, and father the child, and the children shall rise up against their parents. And you see that happening all the time with the way minstrous women will bring forth monsters. You see children raising up against their parents and causing them to be put to death all the time. And you see people, monstrous children killing their parents and doing crazy stuff like that. See, all this stuff is happening on that band curve that's getting higher up to the pinnacle point at the top of it, which is mean to bottoms out, and then no holds barred. Everything's open season on everything and everybody. And that's what we got coming to, because when individuals start to find out that the salvation that they think they had through a fake salvation giver is not real and not available, watch how they snap. Oh, call on Yahweh, Shem Shai. All right, let me not digress. All right, and it says, and ye shall be hated of all men for my name's sake, but he that endureth to the end shall be saved. So that means if you have to endure to the end and you shall be saved, you have to have directive on what you're doing to get through that. In other words, tell me how to move and tell me what I need to do to get through this. Okay, repent. We know that's a very key factor, but don't try to repent in a fake idol name that's been attached to creation that the Most High made, that they come out with called some kind of Jesus or Christ or whatever the fake names they come up with. You can't repent in that name because that's not the sacred name, which means your repentance is invalid. So now you are unprotected. You see what I'm saying? You're not protected. So your repentance is not stamped approved. Okay. All right. For my name's sake, but he that endureth to the end shall be saved. 23. But when they persecute you in the city, which you see it already happening, and it's going to become more, flee ye into another. For verily I say unto you, ye shall not have gone over the cities of Israel till the Son of Man come. So you could run as much as you want, but you're not going to escape this. Everyone has to go through this. That's going to be here in the flesh. Okay, you're going to experience it. Mashiach is telling you right here. Okay, all right. 24. The disciple is not above his master, nor the servant above his Lord. The disciple is not above his master, nor the servant above his Lord. So if you are a watchman, or you are a shepherd, or you are a herdsman, you have an order to what has to be done. And in that order, you get directives from each level. And each level that gives you a directive, you are to follow that directive in order for you to get to a point where you're being obedient enough where you can possibly get salvation through the tribulation. I didn't say guaranteed, I said possibly. Everyone doesn't do everything perfect. Some people get the message and they do things well. Some people do this part of it. Some people do that part of it. But you subscribe and do the part that you are assigned to do. You can't put some part on someone else that's not what they're subscribed to do. That's not your job. You don't have any hell to put anyone in, and you don't have any heaven to put anyone in. Do your part, collectively do your parts, and then mind your business and handle your business the way the Mashiach said you're supposed to. That's how you do it. That's loving your neighbor as yourself. You assist your neighbor in the method that you're subscribed to here in order to do the ministry and the work, and do your part. And if your neighbor's not doing his or her part, okay, reprove and move. I've said this throughout all the lessons. Don't hark, don't badger, reprove and move. That's the move. Okay, let's move on. All right. Disciple is not above his master, and the servant not above the Lord. 25. It is enough for the disciple that he be as his master, and the servant as his Lord, if they have called the master of the house Beelzebub. How much more shall they call them of his household? So if you demons are going out here and you're attacking or blitzing the brethren and blitzing those that are teaching the truth, and trying to say that we're wicked, but you blitzing us, but you don't go out and go after the wicked that are doing crazy stuff to children and to everyone else on this whole planet. But you want to attack us, but you hate me because I tell you the truth. Roughly paraphrase, right? Please, okay. Let's. All right. 26. Fear them not, therefore, for there is nothing covered that shall not be revealed, and hid that shall not be known. You can see the Most High is making everything bare. He's bearing it all right now, and it's very awesome the way he's kicking it. All right. What I tell you in darkness, that speak ye in the light, and what ye hear in the ear, that preach ye upon the housetops. That takes you to Luke chapter 23, 3-7, which paraphrase the same thing, right? Same level of precept. Dark speeches come a lot, and dark parables come a lot. they're not dark in terms of something is bad. They're dark in terms of they're only designated for those that are supposed to understand it. And everyone else is a darkness of not understanding to them. Okay, let's make sure we got that down, right? And fear not them which can kill the body, but are not able to kill the soul, but rather fear him which is able to destroy both soul and body in hell. Meaning he can take care of you here, and he can make it so that when your soul leaves here, your ass is on fire. Okay, literally. Okay, so my point is, Yahweh controls all sides of both things. That's precept right there leads me to believe. As soon as I hear that, I go to Deuteronomy 32:39, where the Most High tells me, He says, "I create evil and I create good." I mean, I basically roughly paraphrase, "I the Lord do all these things, and no one can deliver you from out of my hand." So He can do this, okay? Which is not he'll do whatever He wants to do, okay? All right. 29. Are not two sparrows sold for a farthing? Question. And one of them shall not fall to the ground without your Father, but the very hairs on your head are all numbered. Fear ye not, therefore, ye are more value than many sparrows. Luke 20, if I went to Luke 12, 8 and 9, more whosoever therefore shall confess me before men, him will I confess also before my Father which is in heaven. But whosoever shall deny me before men, him will I also deny before my Father which is in heaven. Right? That's still Luke 12:51 going down through 14, 26 and 27. Think not that I am come to send peace on earth. I came not to send peace, but a sword. See, all of the wacky tackies who think that Yahushua is coming back to bring a bunch of chocolates and roses. Nope, sorry, ain't happening. He ain't doing that. All right. For I am come to set a man at variance against his father, and the daughter against her mother, and the daughter-in-law against her mother-in-law, and man's foes shall be they of his own household. We see this happening right now. Now imagine when tribulation, isolation happens, and you've been telling them that this was coming, and then now it hits. They're still not going to listen to you, because they're going to be like, you're going to be looking at them like I told you so. And they're going to be like, yeah, but I know I wasn't in it. I wasn't thinking about it at that time. Well, see, just because you wasn't thinking about it at that time doesn't mean that it isn't valid and you were told. Okay? But they're going to flip out on you anyway, because that's what bug outs are going to end up doing, because they didn't follow the truth, and maybe the Most High's got them blocked that they can't follow it. They could be 2/3. He that loveth father and mother more than me is not worthy of me. And he that knoweth that loveth son and daughter more than me is not worthy of me. And he that taketh his shalaki, and he that taketh not his cross and follow after me is not worthy of me. He that findeth his life shall lose it, and he that loseth his life for my sake shall find it. Mark 9:41. He that receiveth you receiveth me. He that receiveth you receiveth me, and he that receiveth me receiveth him that sent me. Yahweh Bashem Yahushai. He that receiveth a prophet in the name of a prophet shall receive a prophet's reward. Do I need to read that again? I will. He that receiveth a prophet in the name of a prophet shall receive a prophet's reward, and he that receiveth a righteous man in the name of a righteous man shall receive a righteous man's reward. This is still getting you fed through the prophets. And whosoever shall give to drink unto one of these little ones, which are Israelites, a cup of cold water only in the name of a disciple, verily I say unto you, he shall in no wise lose his reward. So all of us have a role in the hand of the Mashiach in providing some form of feeding the sheep, whether you are one who tills the ground so the grass will grow, so the sheep will be able to eat good, fertile food, or whether you are one who steers the sheep to where they can eat good pasture, or whether you are one that blocks the area and quarters off the area so the sheep can be protected in a protective area. If that's your role, or if you're the one that gives a direction to the sheep and bring them and herd them into a safe place and herd them to the next level of pasture, but don't herd them over a cliff or anything, you're also providing something that is a reward for the sheep, and the Most High is going to bless for that. Okay, I wanted to make sure I got that. And like I said, we got time, and I got time, because soon this may not be available. So eat it while you can. All right. All right. The next precept, I went way down. I did the whole chapter, which is, it's fine because you can explain it and it works. So, but I'm a pop back, to 15. I'm gonna go to Matthew 15, and I just want to pick 24, and it reads, but he answered her not a word, and his disciples came and besought him, and saying, send her away, for she crieth after us. But he answered and said, I am not sent but to the lost sheep of the house of Israel. So when you get into situations here now where you have other nations that cry after us and say that they should be part of this, that they should be part of the salvation, and they should be part of the inheritance, and they should be part of getting fed the right food, but then they take it upon themselves to acquire or abscond our food, and then they want to act as though it belonged to them anyway. And the apostles and these disciples here said, send her away, because she crieth after us. In other words, she's saying universalism. No, it's not universalism. So you can cry all you want. This is not for you, because right down here, he's going to tell you that he's not supposed to be giving the meat of the children let's get it, to the dogs. Let's just go. Let's go with it. It's always best to read it, right? But he answered her not a word, and his disciples came and besought him, saying, send her away, for she crieth after us. But he answered and said, I am not sent but to the lost sheep of the house of Israel. Right? Then came she and worshipped him, saying, Lord, help me. Now you got a heathen, or let me be circumspect to say, to me, it appears that she is a heathen. She kind of sends a little contradictory message here, because she talks about her fathers in Abraham, which could lend me to believe that she may be an Israelite foreigner in a area of a nation that is not hers, but she's sojourning there for some time. I don't know for sure. I got to look at that and see what the brothers, the apostles, bring back on that lesson there on that part. But I'm just saying, okay, why he didn't answer her, and then what he calls her. Okay. All right, so let's go further. All right. And he answered her, but he answered and said, well, and she came and worshipped him, saying, Lord, help me. But he answered and said, it is not meet to take the children's bread and cast it to the dogs. Okay, so clearly we see now he's calling her a dog, right? And she said, truth, Lord, yet the dogs eat of the crumbs which fall from their master's table. And then Yahushua answered and said unto her, O woman, great is thy faith, be it unto thee even as thou wilt. And her daughter was made whole from that very hour. Now, just to give a little, on this situation here, was she made whole, the woman who came and cried after him? No. She came on behalf of her daughter, but she believed that he could do it. So she praised and worshiped him and was praying to him, because the conversation is a prayer. Talking to Yahweh Shem Yahushai is prayer. So she performed the process of the three. She exalted and talked of love. She exalted and talked of and did worship. She exalted and had conversation. And then her request was made to her daughter in terms of being healed. She was not healed. Wacky Tackies try to say that this particular person got salvation. No, she didn't. She just got her daughter healed. See, read with understanding, and they take things out of context. That's not us taking it out of context, but clearly we can see that's the case. Okay, let's go now to the next precept I want to pull. Is I want to go to Isaiah chapter 13. So go with me to Isaiah. And I'm going to go to 13, and I want verse 14, because that's the precept that I was given on that one. 13 and 14, and it says, and it shall be as Shalaki, and it shall be as the chaste roe, and as a sheep that no man taketh up. They shall every man turn to his own people, and flee everyone into his own land. Now that's the reason why I say that, is because I can see a transfer happening here, where the heathens and those that are not the Israelites, and once the SHTF starts to happen, or does happen, they're going to want to try to get out of here. But at the same time, when they're going back to the locale where they nationally derive from, Yahushua is bringing the scattered to where they have to be able to acquire their salvation and their wilderness protection. So I could see that transfer happening at that point in time with this particular methodology that I'm seeing here. Am I right? I could be wrong, Shalaki, if I am. And okay, and everyone that is found shall be thrust through, and everyone that is joined unto them shall fall by the sword, and their children also shall be dashed to pieces before their eyes. Their houses shall be spoiled, and their wives ravaged. See, all of that is showing you that there's going to be complete turmoil and dissertation going down throughout the entire time of the world. That is that wrath, and that's what I'm saying. You need a directive on what you're supposed to do and where you're supposed to go, right? And because at that point, they have all went astray. All the sheep has went astray. Let's get 53. Let's get Isaiah 53 and 6, right? So if we're going to speak on it, we might also bring it out, right? Isaiah chapter 53 and 6. And it reads, all we like sheep have gone astray. We have turned everyone to his own way, and Yahweh hath laid on him the iniquity of us all. So we can see that this is what is going to happen, because the Most High is going to judge the house of Israel first. He said he's coming to judge the house of Israel first, and so because we know that these sheep that have gone astray, they're going to feel the sting of what the Most High said in that time. Now we're going to go to Jeremiah. I'm going to do quite a few precepts from Jeremiah because I pulled a few. So let me go to Jeremiah, and I'm going to start at Jeremiah chapter 12. So we're going to go there first. And then after we come from there, Jeremiah chapter 12, we're going to go to the next one, which will be 23 that I like. Jeremiah chapter 12 and 3. And it reads, but thou, O Yahweh, knowest me. Thou hast seen me and tried mine heart toward thee. Pull them out like sheep for the slaughter, and prepare them for the day of slaughter. He's preparing them for the day of the Lord. Let me read that again, because that's fire. Okay, check it out. It says here, but thou, O Yahweh, knowest me. Thou hast seen me and tried me, Shlaki, tried mine heart towards thee. See, if he's trying your heart towards him, he's looking for that heightened level of love, of praise, worship, and prayer, right? Towards thee. Pull them out like sheep for the slaughter. This whole earthly plane, this whole earth we're dealing with is going to be a sacrifice for the Most High. The altar, it's a giant altar for his sacrifice, and that's what's going to happen for the slaughter, and prepare them for the day of the Lord, or the day of slaughter. Okay, he's telling you right there that that's the process he's going to. Now let's pop up to Jeremiah 23. Okay, and we're going to do verse 1. Woe be unto the pastors that destroy and scatter the sheep of my pasture, saith Yahweh. Okay, and we're going to get a little bit of this. Hold on. Therefore, thus saith the Lord Yahweh, thus saith Yahweh power of Israel, against the pastors that feed my people. Ye have scattered my flock and driven them away, and have not visited them. Behold, I will visit upon you the evil of your doing, saith Yahweh. Now, that's a lot that we got to understand, because this happens deliberately, and sometimes it's ignorantly that this process happens, right? When they do this. But he's not, just like the law. If you do something and break Esau's law, if you claim ignorance, you still gonna get a ticket if you run the light. And if you do something severe, you're still going to get judged and get sentenced, even though ignorance of the law to them is not an excuse. So what makes you think ignorance of the Most High's law is an excuse? If even his puppet is not going to let you off the hook. So you need to figure that out and understand. He said, therefore, thus saith the Lord. Anytime thus saith the Lord, the Most High speaking, man, you best pay close attention beyond of Israel against the pastors that feed my people. So if you're feeding them GMO food, you're gonna pay for it. Okay? This is your work. And after you do your work, you're gonna get paid, and it ain't gonna be nothing nice. Okay? Feed my people. Ye have scattered my flock, all right, and driven them away, and not visited them. Behold, I will visit upon you the evil of your doings, saith Yahweh. And I will gather the remnant of my flock out of all countries, whether I have driven them, and I will bring them again to their folds, and they shall be fruitful and increase. And I will set up shepherds over them, which shall feed them, and they shall fear no more, nor be dismayed, neither shall they be lacking, saith Yahweh. Okay? Behold, the days come, saith the Lord Yahweh, I will raise unto David a righteous branch, Yahushua, and a king shall reign and prosper, and shall execute judgment and justice in the earth. All right? So clearly, there is food that is nourishment and that is right, and directives that are given so that the sheep can be safe and can prosper. And that's what we're looking to talk and speak to and acquire in this lesson today. That's why the emaciation of the nation of the Israelites is at hand, and the Most High is the one who's emaciating them. No one else is doing it but Yahweh Hashem Yahushua. Okay? So we can clearly see that that's the case. Now we're going to go to Jeremiah, and we're going to go to 50. And I'm going to pull just a couple of precepts from 50. So Jeremiah 50, and I'm going to start at 6. My people have been lost sheep. The shepherds have caused them to go astray. They have turned them away on the mountains, which is an indication of nations, because mountains represent nations, right? And have gone from mountain to hill. They have forgotten their resting place. So mountains and hills was nations and cities that are occupied within the mountains and hills. And they all have gone astray. They don't pay attention. Everybody's staring into a phone and walking around looking into a phone, not even looking where they're going, don't care. Their whole entire life is on their phone. So like I said before, once he shuts down ground services for transmission and everything is done and you can't communicate with anyone, what you gonna do then? You ain't gonna have the ability to do that. So if a lot of people, can't even remember anybody's phone number anyway by heart if it's not already programmed into their device. I mean, I'm telling the truth. You know that, okay? It's clear as a bell. All right. And it says here, resting place 7. All that found them have devoured them, and their adversaries said, we offend not, because they have sinned against Yahweh, the habitation of justice, even the Lord Yahweh, the hope of their fathers. So a lot of times these heathens and these wacky tackies try to say, we got to get what we get because we did it. Well, true. We did do that, and we are guilty of that, but you got to get to repentance, okay? 8, remove out of the midst of Babylon and go forth out of the land of the Chaldeans and be as the he-goats before the flock. Now, what are the he-goats? Those rams, right? You got to be able to be the elect to lead them out through Yahweh Hashem Yahushua. For lo, I will raise and cause to come up against Babylon an assembly of great nations from the north country, and they shall set themselves in array against her. From thence she shall be taken. Their arrows shall be as of a mighty expert man. None shall return in vain. So that's basically talking to you about the nuclear weapons and stuff that will be aimed to take out the wickedness of the nations that have come against Yahweh Hashem Yahushua and his people. and the angels are going to direct them on target, bullseyes. Every single one's going to be a bullseye. Not even a problem. And this is what we're going to be looking at and dealing with, right? Okay, so we got that. We did 50. Can we go down further? Because we want to get to 17 anyway. For lo, I will raise and cause. Oh, I did that one. Okay, expert man. Okay, 10. And Chaldea shall be a spoil. All the spoil her shall be satisfied, saith Yahweh. Because ye were glad, because ye rejoice, O ye destroyers of mine heritage. See, because ye are grown fat, Slaki, as the heifer at grass and bellows at bulls. Your mother shall be sore confounded. She that bare you shall be ashamed. Behold, the hindermost of the nations shall be a wilderness, a dry land in the desert. That's just, this place is going to be completely flattened, right? That's what the Most High is telling you. 13. Because of the wrath of Yahweh, it shall not be inhabited. See, that whole wrath is poured out on the entire earth, okay? It shall not be inhabited, but it shall be wholly desolate. Everyone that goeth by Babylon shall be astonished and hiss at all her plagues. Put yourselves in array against Babylon round about, all ye that bend the bow. Shoot at her, spare no arrows, for she hath sinned against Yahweh. See, and you see those nations gathering right now that Yahweh is bringing them into fruition, and they're going to do exactly. His word will not come back void or in vain. All right, shout against her round about. She hath given her hand, her foundations are fallen, her walls are thrown down, for it is the vengeance of Yahweh. Take vengeance upon her as she hath done due unto her. 16. Cut off the sower from Babylon, and him that handleth the sickle in the time of harvest. For fear of the oppressive sword, they shall turn away, one to his people, and they shall flee every one to his own land. See, we have previously read that precept as well. Okay, and 17. All right, where I was going, right? Israel is a scattered sheep. The lions have driven him away. First, the king of Assyria both devoured him, and last, Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, hath broken his bones. Therefore, thus saith Yahweh of hosts, the power of Israel, behold, I will punish the king of Babylon and his land, and as I have punished the king of Assyria. And I will bring Israel again to his habitation, and he shall feed on Carmel and Bashan, and his soul shall be satisfied upon Mount Ephraim and Gilead. All right, so we can see right there the Most High's got nothing but good things coming for us, but we have to make sure that we are giving him his praise, worship, and prayer in order to be able to accept what is coming to us, right? Now we're going to go to Ezekiel chapter 34, and because now we're going to get into the feeding of the sheep and how it's always been said, even up into the point when it was brought out in John chapter 21, which we'll get to that as soon. We'll be end up probably closing out with that chapter anyway. All right, Ezekiel chapter 34 and 6, right? Go with me to 34 and 6, and it says, my sheep wandered through the mountains and upon every high hill. Yea, my flock was scattered upon all the face of the earth, and none did search or seek after them. And we see that that's why they always ask, what is your nationality? Do you know who you are? What's the deal? And they don't seem to be able to respond. And now we're going to hit 11 in the same 34, chapter 34, verse 11. For thus saith the Lord Yahweh power, behold, even I will both search my sheep and seek them out. As at 12, as a shepherd seeketh out his flock in the day that he is among his sheep that are scattered, so will I seek out my sheep and will deliver them out of all places where they have been scattered in the cloudy and dark day. Okay? And I will bring them out from the people and gather them from the countries, and I will bring them to their own land and feed them upon the mountains of Israel by the rivers and in all the inhabited places of the country. I will feed them in a good pasture. See? And upon the high mountains of Israel shall their fold be. There shall they lie in good fold, and in all good fold, and in a fat pasture shall they feed upon the mountains of Israel. And I will feed my flock, and I will cause them to lie down, saith Yahweh power. I will seek that which was lost and bring again that which was driven away, and I will bind up that which is broken, and I will strengthen that which was sick. As I said before, no emaciation, but I will destroy the fat and the strong. I will feed them with judgment. So he's saying you got to give them direction on what to do and how to move. Okay? And as for you, O my flock, thus saith Yahweh power, behold, I judge between cattle and cattle, and between rams and goats. Seemeth it as a small thing unto you that eaten up the good pasture, but ye must tread down with your feet the residue of your pastures, question, and to have drunk of the deep waters, but ye must foul the residue with your feet. As for my flock, they eat that which ye have trodden with your feet, and they drink that which ye have fouled with your feet. Therefore, thus saith Yahweh power unto them, behold, I will judge between the fat cattle and between the lean cattle, because ye have thrust the side and with shoulder and pushed all the diseased with your horns, till ye have scattered them abroad. Therefore I will save my flock, and they shall no more be a prey, and I will judge between cattle and cattle, and I will set up one shepherd over them, and he shall feed them, even my servant David, house of David, he shall feed them, and he shall be their shepherd, and I, the Lord, will be their power, and my servant David a prince among them, and I, Yahweh, have spoken it. And I will make with them a covenant of peace, see, only with us, and will cause the evil beast to cease out of the land, and they shall dwell safely in the wilderness, and sheep in the woods. And I shall make them and I will make them in places around about my hill a blessing, and I will cause the shower to come down on his season, and there shall be showers of blessing. Okay? So we see the Most High is giving directions, telling you what he's going to do, and we just need to follow suit. All right? And we read that. Now I want to go to Joel, and then I'm gonna jump into John. So now go with me to Joel. And I'm going to go to Joel. I want Joel, baby. Joel chapter 1, verse 18, and it reads, how do the beasts groan? The herds of cattle are perplexed, because they have no pasture. Yea, the flocks of sheep are made desolate. Right now, we see that this is the curve that we're on. The flocks of sheep are being made desolate on that particular band of time going towards the top. We see that happening at this moment right now. And it's going to get worse. The desolation is coming worse as the Most High deteriorates towards this famine of all the resources. And once you get down to a certain point of deterioration, what happens is, like at your gas tank, if you're on a quarter of a tank and the quarter of a tank starts to get below a quarter of a tank, how fast it goes to empty is crazy, because that's what we got. We're going to go to empty real quick here. And that's why, Yahushua is giving us directives to tell us that we need to tell these sheep and heard them in directions of where they need to go. And we need to get on point with that. And that's exactly what we're trying to do. Okay, so now I'm going to go to John chapter 21 and to finish this out. So join me with John chapter 21. And we got a lot of Yahushua here because that's what we want. Praise, worship, and prayer to Yahweh Shem Yoshai. We got to get in it. We got to get in it, and we got to get in the tub. All right, so let's go into it. Shalaki. After these things, Yahushua showed himself again to the disciples at the Sea of Tiberias, and on the wise showed himself. Now, whether they recognized him or not, we're going to talk and find out about that. And there were together Simon Peter and Thomas called Didymus, and Nathanael and Cana and Galilee and the sons of Zebedee, and two other of his disciples. And Simon Peter saith unto them, I go. Simon Peter saying something to him, I go a fishing. Okay, so Simon Peter is fishing. Now that's also a good metaphor and a similitude of fishing for Yahweh Shem Yoshai in terms of, inviting them to the wedding, okay, so to speak, right? Giving a metaphor, right? They say unto him, we also go with thee, and went forth and entered into the ship immediately, and that night they caught nothing. In other words, so sometimes when you're out and you're doing your ministry, the Most High isn't sending anybody by that really is going to take to the truth that they're hearing, okay? They're not going to do it. But when the morning was now come, Yahushua stood on the shore, but the disciples knew not that it was Yahushua. Now, maybe because they were a little further away from the shore and they couldn't recognize who was actually standing there at that time. That could be the case. It doesn't indicate that, but I'm looking at that as a possibility because I fish, and I know sometimes when I'm in my boat and I'm away from the shore, I can't see someone, or someone might be calling upon me, and I might not recognize them until I get close enough to see them. Okay, you see what I'm saying? Okay, and then Yahushua said unto them, children, have ye any meat? Okay, this definitely has deep metaphors in it. And they answered to him, no. Children, have you any meat? So if he's asking you at the level of this, not for milk and not for bread, but he's asking you for meat, then there must be some deeper meaning in terms of your understanding. In other words, could I safely say, Yahushua is saying, and I'm not putting words there that don't belong there, but I'm trying to just elaborate on the understanding a little bit, all right, by saying, all right, children, have you any understanding? Have you any deep understanding? Have you any meat? Okay, all right. And he said unto them, Yahushua said unto them, cast the net on the right side of the ship. Why the right side? Because he sits on the right hand side of the Father. And the right hand side of the Father, the right side of the Father is the righteous side of the Father that deals out his judgments and his ordinances and his laws, his statutes and commandments are coming from that right side. And that's in this prelude to asking them, cast the net on the right side of the ship, and ye shall find. So when you're out doing your work and you're talking about the judgments and the warnings that are coming, and you're casting out the knowledge on the right side, it's going to resonate with those that are supposed to receive this. And not only will it resonate with them, but the right side will continue to breed and bring forward directives and truth that will lead someone in the direction that they need to go through isolation, tribulation. So when you cast your net out to cover and capture those that are supposed to be caught in the net and be brought or dragged, so to speak, when you drag that net into the truth and into the directive and herding it in the direction that it's supposed to go for safety, salvation through tribulation and isolation, right? Cast to the right side. And they cast therefore, and now they were not able to draw from the multitude of fishes. And see, that's how you can tell. When you're bringing the truth to people and you're telling them the warnings, the judgments, the season, and then also completing it with the direction on what to do and giving them the accurate net to cover praise, worship, and prayer, it's going to be so thick with the people understanding this that you ain't going to be able to pull that net in. It's going to be strong, okay? Because it's going to be almost hard to do, right? Okay. All right. And he said, okay, and casting at himself. And therefore, disciples whom Yahushua loved saith unto Peter, it is the Lord. Okay. Now then Simon Peter heard that it was the Lord, and he girded his fisher's coat onto him, for he was naked, and did cast himself into the sea. Right. And then he said, and the other disciples came in a little ship, for they were not far from land, but as it were 200 cubits, dragging the net with fishes. As soon then as they were come to land, they saw a fire of coals there, and fish laid thereon, and bread. So the Most High was already preparing a meal for them at this particular time with Yahushua, to conversate with them about the higher level of knowledge that they need to get up to speed with, for the most part, right? And Yahushua said unto them, bring of the fish which ye have now caught. In other words, let's bring these folks forward so we can get the knowledge into them so they can know what's going on, right? And Simon Peter went up and drew the net to land full of great fishes, 153. And for all there was so many, yet was not the net broken. Now that 153 reminds me of when Obadiah hid 150 prophets of the Lord from Jezebel by 50s in caves, to supposedly preserve that prophetic ministry that they had to bring forward, which was, he did it, but Yahweh had him covered anyway, because he had thought he was all by himself at the time, but he wasn't. But that was a good move by Obadiah, the governor working at that time, to do that. And so 150, that biblical numerical word number works well. And then 50 and 3, and the 3 always is to me in combination with what? Praise, worship, and prayer. Father, Son, and the Ruach HaKodesh, right? Yahweh B'Shem Yahushua, right? So 150 and 3, that has good significance in that meaning right there. Yahushua said unto them, come and dine. Let's sit down and eat. So when you sit down and eat, you're going to talk. And none of the disciples durst ask him, who art thou? Because they kind of knowing that it was the Lord. And Yahushua then cometh and taketh bread and giveth them and fish likewise. So they had the word, and then they also had the deeper word. So they're eating the bread of life, and they're also eating the meat of salvation in terms of the Lord's word, and they're getting the information they have to have from a deeper knowledge and information. Now, take in consideration, he's feeding them a very deep and personal education in reference to the spiritual aspects of what their jobs are supposed to be, and how they're supposed to perform these jobs as time goes forward, right? Take that into consideration there when we talk about this, right? Because you're going to come and see what I mean by that, okay? All right, and he said, and Yahushua cometh and taketh bread and giveth them and fish likewise. And this is now the third time that Yahushua showed himself to his disciples after he was risen from the dead. There's the 3 again. Yahweh, B'Shem Yahushua, the Father, the Spirit, and the Son. The Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, right? Okay, so there it is again. That 3 is popping up. Now, take in consideration, it has meaning through this whole chapter here, okay? Now, so when they had dined, Yahushua said to Simon Peter, Simon, son of Jonas, lovest thou me more than these? Who is the these he's talking about? Okay, who else was there with him? There was other disciples there. Now, Peter is a very important Israelite, because the Most High is going to base the foundation of the ecclesiastical process of distributing the truth through praise, worship, and prayer through Peter, in terms of how he'll touch other disciples and the other prophets and bring the truth from the house of Israel out of the house of Judah in that manner. Okay, so it's very important to understand why he's asking him, lovest me more than these? Question. And he saith unto him, Yea, Lord, thou knowest that I love thee. He saith unto him, feed my lambs. Now, Peter, Paul was a Hebrew of the Hebrews, but Peter was a Judite of the Jews, of the Judites, okay? Because, at some point in time, a lot of times Peter got into consternation with Paul about various doctrines in Acts 21 in terms of, what practices of the Nazarite rule had to go down. And Peter was not very zealous about going after a lot of the scattered who took on Gentile personalities, spiritually, socially, and carnally. So Peter was like a diehard, I'm not eating nothing that's defiled. I'm not dealing with nobody defiled. I'm not interested in operating in any defilement. So he was a good choice. He was the choice for the Most High in Yahweh Shai in the way that he said this. But there's a deeper meaning here in terms of what Yahweh Shai is asking Peter. Now he asked him to feed his lambs, right? He said, he saith unto him, Yea, Lord, thou knowest that I love thee, right? Notice that Yahushua is asking, and let's see how many times Yahushua asked, because he's saying love. What does he mean by love? Not like wacky-tacky Christians talk about love. It's a higher love. It's that first love that I spoke about in the lesson two times back. You have to have a higher love. Elder Yashawama talked about raising to a higher level of faith, which you have to have a higher level of love in order to raise to a higher level of faith. Okay? So it's a higher love. The higher love brings a higher level of understanding. And it also brings the way that the Most High doesn't turn his face from you. And you get more from him in terms of your understanding. So that higher love is important. Watch how this goes down. Okay? He said, feed my lambs. And he saith to him again, the second time, Simon, son of Jonas, lovest thou me? Okay? And he saith unto him, Yea, Lord, thou knowest that I love thee. He saith unto him, feed my sheep. Now, if Yahushua keeps asking you the same question, he's knowing you not really understanding what he's saying here. Okay, you're not getting it. Okay. This is what I was trying to tell you about the emaciation of the nation of Israelites. The emaciation. He said, feed my lambs, babies, right? Those that cannot feed themselves. He didn't say, let my lambs go to the sheep and get fed. Because in the natural perspective, what does a lamb do? A lamb feeds from the mother sheep, right? The mother sheep provides the milk from her body to the lamb, the baby. Because that's what you look at how lambs eat. They go to the mother. They're not eating any grass. They're eating lamb's mother's milk, right? But the deeper meaning I'm trying to get you here is that Yahushua is asking Simon Peter 2 times already, do you understand what type of love I'm asking you for? I've asked you the first time, if you love me, feed my lambs. Then he's asking you, don't look past just the point that you know you got to feed the lambs, because a lamb also feeds off the mother sheep, because the lamb don't eat grass. So he's saying, feed my sheep. Why is he asking him that again? Because for some reason he must not be understanding the level of love that he's looking for. Okay? This is just what I'm getting from the Spirit on this, right? All right, now let's go again. All right, and he said unto him the third time, Simon, son of Jonas, lovest thou me? Peter was grieved because he said unto him the third time, lovest thou me? And he said unto him, Lord, thou knowest all things. Thou knowest that I love thee. Yahushua saith unto him, feed my sheep. Now, if he's asking him the third time, now anytime you ask somebody something once and you assume they got it and they respond to you, but then for some reason, if you're not satisfied with the answer, you're asking them the second time. Now, when you ask them the second time and they still say the same thing, and they're not saying, Lord, I don't believe I'm understanding the level of love you're talking about. What can I do to get to that level to understand what you're saying about feeding the sheep? Because you already know you got to feed them, and you already are doing that. So now the third time, if someone asks you something the third time, they're clearly thinking that you're really not understanding the magnitude of what I'm asking you. Okay? Let's dive into that. Did he understand the magnitude of what was being asked? Because he had to ask him 3 times. Anytime you try to tell somebody something 3 times, you are clearly saying to that person that they don't get what you're saying to some degree. Now, if I'm wrong, Shalakis, call all y'all by Shimel Shah, Baba Shah. Forgive me, Father, if I'm wrong, but if this is what it is, you're being asked 3 times. If anybody asks you something 3 times, they're under the impression you didn't get it the first 2 times. Okay? The love is not being understood to be raised to the level that Yahweh Shem Yahushua is asking for. Let's see if that falls through what's being said. Okay. Okay. 18. Verily, verily, I say unto you, to thee, verily, truly, truly, I say unto you, to thee, when thou wast young, thou guidest thyself and walketh whether thou wouldest. Right? So what does that mean? When Yahushua was 12, he went into the temple, and his mother and father were looking for him, and he was in there asking questions of them about a higher love that they didn't even understand, because he was breaking down the truth and the word to them, and they couldn't even compete with a 12-year-old. So clearly the love of the Most High and the Father was not in there, even though they were dealing in the law, right? Truly, truly, I say unto thee, when thou wast young, when you weren't as knowledgeable, when you were a lamb, right? Thou girdest thyself. You tried to do the best you can with what you're working with, and walkest whether thou wouldest. But when thou shalt be old, and thou shalt stretch forth thy hands, and another shall gird thee and carry thee whether thou wouldest not. So in other words, you're at a point where you need help. So as you increase in knowledge, even though you may increase in knowledge, did you increase in performance? That's important. Did you increase in performance? So that's something that needs to be regulated and understood. Okay, let's move forward. This spake he signifying by what death he should glorify Yahweh. And when he had spoken this, he saith unto him, follow me. So he was trying to break down the fact that he's going to give a higher love to Yahweh, the Father, by performing what was written of him to perform, and why he was sent from predestination before the world that was to come and save the chosen people of the Most High only. That's who he was designated to cover. Okay, think about the level of love. People used to always say, they would say to you, the greatest love is to give your life, to sacrifice your life for someone else. That is true. That's a very high level of love, which is what the Most High did with Yahushua. Okay, all right, now let's finish. Okay, we're getting close to the end here. Then Peter, turning about, seeth the disciple whom Yahushua loved, following, which also leaned on his breast at supper, and said, Lord, which is he that betrayeth thee? Okay. And Peter, seeing him, say to Yahushua, Lord, and what shall this man do? And Yahushua said unto him, if I will that he tarry, till I come, what is that to thee? Follow me. In other words, it doesn't matter who that individual is that will betray me. Why? Because the Most High, he determines everything. He predestined every process. The Most High said, I determined the end from the beginning and the beginning from the end. The end from the beginning and the beginning from the end. Roughly paraphrased, nothing is left out in between that. Nothing is left out. Let it sink in. This is that higher nutrient food and understanding that you need to let sink in during this time. He said, I determined the end from the beginning and the beginning from the end, which means he's covered everything in between. Nothing that the Most High has created is outside of his power. Nothing and nothing is outside of his control. Please, wacky tackies that come up with stories about angels falling and devils and different people doing stuff without their own power, pumping up Esau that he's doing certain wicked stuff on this earth that's scaring the daylights out of Jakes and all kinds of people who may or may not be coming into the truth without disclaiming it. The Most High controls all this. Absolutely all of it. Every inkling, every nook, every cranny, every jot, and every tittle. He covers it all. And we got to be bringing it out in that way. Because if we're not, then we're shortchanging good food for the sheep and the directive to go through isolation, tribulation in the prophecies that are going to happen in tribulation. Okay, let's finish. Get ready to close this out. 23. Then went this saying abroad among the brethren, that disciple should not die. Yet Yahushua said, not unto him he shall not die, but if I will that he tarry till I come, what is that to thee? In other words, he's telling you, he says, you don't have any judgment or hell or heaven to put anyone in. I have to go through the process that the Most High, the Father, sent me to fulfill. So, if I will that he tarry till I come, what is it to you? I got to do this. It's part of the prophecy that has to be fulfilled. You don't understand that higher level of love yet, but you will get there. But you don't understand it yet. Okay, and that's important. All right. This is the disciple which testifieth of these things and wrote these things, and we know that his testimony is true. 25. And there are also many other things which Yahushua did, the which, if they should be written, every one, I suppose that even the world itself could not contain the books that should be written. Come on. So, the emaciation of the nation of the Israelites was the lesson. And we are getting emaciated, and we have to be emaciated to a degree, because judgment falls on the house of Israel first. And then the rest of the emaciation process will spread throughout the entire earth. And that's what the Most High is going to do. Now, how much of the emaciation will you be able to praise, worship, and pray through? I don't have that answer. But I know that if we're not doing that, it's going to become extremely problematic and difficult to do a lot of things in general. But through Hamashiach, all things are possible. But are you going to praise and worship to the level to make sure that that is possible for you? To make your election sure as possible. We don't know. None of us know, even doing this work, whether or not we have any position other than just doing the work. That's all we know. We don't know if we are any better than anyone else. We don't accept that we are. We don't say we are. I don't. I know I don't. And I won't. It remains to be seen, and I'm going to praise, worship, and pray to Yahweh Shem Yahushai until the wheels fall off. And that's just the way it's going to go. So I hope you enjoyed the lesson for the most part. And, I just, like I said, I'm just going to always call hello, Yahweh, Bashim, Yahushua, Bashim, Rakakudash, Wada, Yahweh, Wada, Yahweh, Bashim, Yahushua, Shalaka. Bashim Yahushai, the water Yahweh, for your mercy as I cry. Barakatah Yahweh,